Finance meeting. We have spent the last few of these talking about the budget for 2015. Today, however, we're going to revert back to form and revisit one of the key initiatives begun as, in part, in response to the DFM initial review. DFM initial review was looking for ways to limit the scope, cut costs, and increase revenues. One of the key areas coming out of the revenue increase opportunities was the whole issue of court costs, fines, and restitution. The committee was formed to analyze the process, make recommendations. Long story. The basic premise being that we had gone from collecting 51% of all the fines, costs, and restitutions over the first year post-conviction back in 2005-07, from 51% to 21% by 2013. And the county was seeking a decisive reversal of that. The commissioners approved funding for a new collections unit. We have in front of us Mike and Missy, who are here along with their boss, Melissa, to tell us how that new unit is doing and how collections are going. I don't know that, Missy, is this your first chance, first opportunity in front of the commissioners on this?
In this capacity, yes.
Okay, so maybe, Mike, introduce Missy and tell us how you got here.
Okay. This is Missy Warner. We hired her about a month ago, but she started approximately 3 weeks ago working as an assistant to me within the collections division. We interviewed 4 people, I believe, and out of those 4, she came out on top, and I felt that she had the strongest personality and ability to do this job and complement our needs as a unit. That's all more that I thought.
This February, I'll go to the county for 20 years. I started out in the credit reports office. I worked for District Justice Lacey, and he was still a magistrate, and I spent the last 7+ years at Cumberland. So, know the inner workings of the court system now for quite a while.
Okay. Basically, I came in September and started looking at collections as a whole, possibly to see where the problems may lie or how to fix the collections issues. One of the biggest things that I noticed right away was that there was a lot of things not necessarily not being done, but ways that we can improve things that weren't being looked at because the problem was so large. And I started working with Mike Varner on probation initially, but we were waiting until a new chief was appointed. So that was something that took a little bit to get working, and now that Darby's in place.
I was going to say, he's here today. He's
He
doing
is.
well.
He and I have been corresponding emails, phone calls, meetings, trying to figure out how the best way to get collections, at least on our end, working in a more efficient manner. It's not necessarily that what they were doing was wrong or whatever, we're just taking a new look at it. So it seems, and even looking back from the previous year to this year for the last 3 months, there has already been an increase in collections with them, which is good. And moving into the future, I think we're going to have a larger increase in those numbers too. Some other stuff that we were working on also with probation is it came up for a Dropbox for people to make payments after hours. Talking to John Locke from maintenance and probation, we were able to figure out that we're going to install one here at the courthouse. It's going to be under surveillance, it's well lit and everything else. Because we feel that we're missing the opportunity for people to make payments because of how they work.
On Saturday. I mean, nobody's here on Saturday. So.
Right. So we figured that's an opportunity, and that is going to be installed within the first week of December. And we're going to get that up and running. Additionally, we're looking at putting one at the prison too. We're hoping, because there's a lot of traffic in the prison, talk to the warden, he's on board with it. In addition to the Dropbox, we're looking at using the system, BPS, Value Payment Systems. It's the same system that Domestic Relations uses and also the voluntary. We feel that that would be an increase for people when they come to see me for a payment issue. We can swipe a credit card. They're also talking about setting up recurring payments through their system. And also we talked about using that at the prison as well. And in the very near future, we were hoping to have it up and running by this month, but it looks like it'll be probably December. We're looking at running an amnesty week for people that have outstanding warrants, outstanding just cost of fines. So allow people to come in, talk to us, reestablish payment plans with them without the threat of going to jail at this time. We're offering them the ability to come in and talk to us first. The people that don't show up, we're looking at conducting a warrant sweep in the very near future after that. So we're going to give the people the ability to come in and talk to us first. And then if they don't come in, we're doing a warrant sweep. We feel that part of the problem is some of these people are just too far gone. They have had no contact with anybody over these payments. Which brings me to some numbers that we were able to locate. I ran the numbers from approximately 1990 until a few days ago, and there's 2,089 people or cases that are not on payment plans. With that estimate, or that number coming to a total balance of $3.9 million. These people were never on a payment plan, so we couldn't even try and track their payments.
I'm sorry, Mike, what's the distribution time-wise?
It was from 1990 until,
Most of them from 1990.
we have them all over.
2010.
It's so sporadic and it's an ever-flowing. We have people from the early 90s or mid to late 90s all the
So
way.
if you had to guess,
Mhm.
what percentage of them were from 2010 forward versus 2010?
Larry, I don't think that number came about. Right now, it's a
I'm asking
157-page
for a
report. They've worked through about the
guess.
first 10
I am
pages.
asking for a guess.
I guess I would say probably 75% of the cases are more than 10 years old.
So these are mostly old cases.
Some are, yes, but we still have a percentage of cases that are fairly new.
Are we sure these people are alive? And are they
That's-
still residing in Cumberland County?
That's what we're working on trying to find out. What we actually have to do is take
I mean, we
this-
can reach them if they're not in Cumberland County.
Right. We're taking a look at this
But-
report of the almost 2,100 cases, and what we're trying to find out is, A, are they still on supervision? And if they are, we're working on probation to make sure that a payment plan is established. Because some of these people may have just been sentenced, so they may not have had a payment plan established yet. It could be that it's, we just need to enter it. Some of these cases they're in state prison. We're locating them, they're already in state prison, so we just need to send a letter to SCI to try and collect money from their books. Some of these people may be deceased, but we don't know that yet because we haven't. What we're trying to do is work through all these cases, figure out whether they're active, supervision, not active. Do they need a payment plan? Do they have an old payment plan that we can add them to? We're working on a lot of numbers. This is a big report that we're trying to work through right now.
They were active supervision. Isn't there somewhere in that conversation with the supervision regarding payment? I'm kind of looking at you.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I guess I'm just asking, like,
I believe,
as you come into an active supervision, would that not one-on-one be arguing either in the file on a payment plan or not?
there is, included in our conditions are a payment plan, so
Okay.
ideally, when they're signed up, they should be placed on a payment plan.
Okay.
I would say, though, probably a result of this is that when someone goes missing, they get taken out of the system, so they aren't a payment plan. So some of these, I can't give any figures, are people we don't have addresses for, they just fell out of sight.
Okay.
So that's one of the areas that we're working on. Plus, there was another group of 109 people that were already on payment plans, but nobody attached to them responsible for collections. So what I did is, with our unit, is we actually attached our names to these particular cases to seek collection enforcement. And The overdue balance was $139,000. The total balance of those 109 cases were $376,000. Well, actually, the number changed since yesterday and today because we found one more. We found 7 people were deceased. 3 people we've made contact with, and they've established new payment plans just by us sending them a letter. We have 2 people in a state correctional facility. 2 people have contacted me and expressed their opinion and basically their refusal to pay. They don't feel that they're responsible for it, which I need to talk to Judge Hess about and find out how we want to proceed with the courts with that. We found one person that was not guilty on all counts, yet there was still a balance on that, so we had to waive that figure off the books. And probably one of the biggest actual success cases for us, I found a gentleman who I sent a letter to, and he had a bench warrant from 1992. He never appeared for sentencing. So just my letter contacting him encouraged him to call me. We looked into it, and he turned himself in the next day. And that matter is still pending. So I'm waiting for the DA.
How much did he owe?
I believe the figure was about $1,300. Most of it was restitution for a bad check case. However, I believe there's some issue whether or not the victim, which was a phone company, is actually still in business. So there's some other issues that I believe the DA was working on in that aspect. So, just keeping in touch with the district attorney's office to find out what the ultimate solution of that case will be.
The other thing we found in this little court is there are quite a few cases that were disposed of at the district court level. They're misdemeanor 3 cases. They're given 10 days to pay, and when they don't pay in those 10 days, the case gets sent here. The other thing is to summary appeals. There's, whatever they have either paid in the district court, that's an escrow. If they have paid anything other than their $50 collateral or whatever the judge requires. And then the filing fees get applied as well. But that balance is outstanding on those cases as well. And there's really quite a few of the summary appeals and the M3 disposals.
And because those people are not on probation.
Correct.
They're not under probation's supervision. They're-
So there's no payment plan set up and there's not pay.
So, there are a lot of cases that we are trying to resolve, and one of the final numbers too that we ran, actually yesterday, was the outstanding restitution amount owed to victims, which comes to $32.6 million in just restitution. Which obviously is a big number, and we're trying to focus a lot of our efforts to make sure that the victims get their money.
What's realistically, what's your expectation of how much of that you can realistically get back?
It all comes down to how many of these people and where they are. Because if people are in the SCI, we know that we're not going to get a whole lot back from them in any one shot, because there's only so much that we can get from them. Some of these people are probably, that are defendants in these cases could be deceased. So, obviously we're losing out on. 2 of the people that we found were deceased. One owed $11,000, one owed $18,000, but they had been dead for approximately 10 years. Even if there realistically was an estate to go after, the estate wouldn't be there anymore for us to even try and seek after the estate. So, my goal is to recover as much as possible. I don't even know if we can even begin to figure out what we could get out of people, because.
And the other thing too that we may run into is some of the victims being deceased. So there's that aspect of it too.
And it would-
But that would go to.
Okay, so as fascinating as all of this is, and it's a lot of money, the work that's gonna need to be required to go after that money. Now, not taking anything away from the successes that you had. You got some really good hits. Like, the sheriff's office has had good hits with its Facebook stuff. We've been able to get stuff, and these people do well, and to the extent that it makes sense, we should go after them regardless of how long. But it just sounds like that with the amount of work you have to go into this, the odds of actually recouping this funds, and then, let alone if the poor victims are still, it seems to be like it shrinks it down, and your cost per dollar retrieved whether you want to make it the cost in terms of somebody's salary or somebody's time seems pretty high as compared to focusing on new stuff.
But the problem, well, that is true, but the biggest problem too is that until this is cleaned up to some degree, we can't even really start to focus on the new stuff because this will always be there. Even like these cases that are on payment plans, we have to get those people on payment plans. Otherwise, that backlog's always there, and it's just gonna be a revolving door, which is what I think had happened over the years.
Right, but to be very much a Philistine here, your success is measured by the percentage of funds that you recoup within the first year of sentencing. You will be judged by your performance by whether we get back up closer to that 51% where we used to be. And while all this stuff is good and brings in more money, the fact of the matter is, what you've uncovered was that there were problems with the system
Right.
that allowed these people to never get on a pay plan.
Right.
So you have two options. We have probably many options, but maybe two contrasting ones. One is to fix the system going forward so that doesn't happen and then keep current with current stuff. The other one is to go back and try to fix the outcome of the problems with the system and try to then run after some very old accounts receivable.
Right, and I understand, and but I think working with probation the way we are, and you know, I've had sort of, I think working forward, working with probation, I think we're on the same ground, we're on the same team, we understand the task that's at hand. And I think for the most part, we are on the same page. It's just how do we effectively do it, and how do we make sure that we, you know, we want to do it effectively and efficiently, is bottom line.
But if you're spending, so here's my point, if you can play the piano with both hands, okay, great. But if you're not playing with it now and going forward again, what you're doing is you're creating that problem, okay, is building up and building up and building up as you're focusing on the old stuff.
Right.
If you can do both things, God bless you and more power to you, okay? Question is, with limited resources, can you realistically do both things? Because if you don't do the current and future stuff, the problem is going to snowball exponentially.
Agreed. Like I said, I believe Darby's been here approximately a month, maybe two. So we're working on the process, and
In
that's
that position.
Right.
I'm gonna jump in
yeah.
respectfully,
Yeah.
in the position that he's in.
Correct. I
And
mean,
it's not like they're not working forward. There's a lot of policies and processes. Darby's just learning his, I mean, you've been here a month, but
This
you're,
is-
yes,
just to be
learning his
really
job
clear,
and working
this
with.
has nothing to do with Darby.
No.
He didn't. You didn't create a special unit and put Darby in charge of it. Darby's part of this whole process. And God bless Darby for taking on the responsibility that he's doing, okay? This unit is supposed to be bringing all these things together. What I'm a little bit concerned about what I'm hearing is that we're putting our, and, you know, it's my job to be paranoid because my rear end is on the line for saying commissioners should fund these positions, is that we're focusing on stuff with a low probability of success. What I'm hoping is that we're not doing so at the expense of the pool of defendants that will have a much higher rate of success just because of the mere fact that they're newer.
No, I-
in restitution.
Mike, do you mind if I? If I can be allowed to finish my comment about Darby. Part of the problem is that once a defendant is sentenced, which is the point where we need to fix things moving forward, they become a probation case. In order to make changes to the system to fix it moving forward, we have to work very closely with Darby and the probation officers. So while Darby isn't the collections person in charge, that working relationship needs to be there. I think you and Darby meet or talk at least once a day, maybe? And work forward. They've got several pilot programs in place with a small number of probation officers to do field collections. Some changes have occurred in the probation collections department. They're trying a few different things out. The effective things are getting expanded out to the rest of probation. None of this, because of the way court works, and you have 30 days to appeal, and you have 30 days to do this, and 30 days to file yet another appeal, and all of that. Things take time to implement. And working with Darby to move those things forward, they're testing them out. The appeal, do you want to talk about the
Can
appeal
I ask,
collections?
can I ask Darby a question, given that your name is being taken?
I'm
Darby,
taking it, baby.
Darby, did you come to Mike with this, how many 100 pages report?
It was 170 pages.
Did you come to these people, did you come to these people and say, before we can do anything, we gotta deal with this?
No.
Okay.
No, I look at my responsibility, as Melissa said, are those people who are on supervision.
Yep.
And I look at Mike's responsibility a little bit different, even though we're working together. And I know the processes that we had in place or the procedures that we didn't have in place weren't working. So I'm working on rolling out some new procedures that can help to increase collections for those under supervision now.
And our department is going to be very intricate within that process, because we're looking at taking over with an administrative hearing role with people that aren't paying to get them on board. And then when those are exhausted, we take it back in front of a judge
Right.
to move forward. And
So you are playing the piano.
we are,
Yeah.
we are trying to.
But just in terms of presentation, when you lead with something like you just led with, that's what gets these questions, just in terms of for future reference. Also, and I apologize that we didn't have time to discuss this before this, what would really help, because you're going to be coming back here every quarter pretty much, because this is important, B, it needs to be tracked and monitored. What would be really good is to come in and present what the actual figures are for total load by month, because I know that's where we got when we did the whole
And we-
review, and come in and show us and say, okay, here's how it's trending, here's what it is, here's the last 12 months, here's what it was the previous 12 months. And then I think, and then we can get into specifics.
And we're working with the OPC right now to get the actual figure of what's owed to the county.
And you could probably get that from Mike Clapp, Sal, get it from him much more quickly.
Okay.
I'm just saying, that's
Yeah.
where Mike was a source for all our information during the discovery thing. That way it gives us to say, if we were at 21%, or we're
Right.
trending towards 24, 25.
Right.
Then there's all kind of wiggle room
Yeah.
to talk about
Mike,
specific
you do
stuff.
have the figures from the months in 2013 compared to the months.
Correct.
I would just do the total figures, maybe
I was gonna
not
say,
the.
between August 13 and August 14, we were up, probation was up $15,000. The collections department within probation was up $37,000.
Compared to,
Same
August
month
13
last
to
year.
August 14, okay?
this is good news.
September 13 to September 14, probation was up 61,000. And collections was up 58,000. And then finally, October 13 to October 14, probation was up almost 56,000. And collections was up 29,000.
And that's the amount collected in the month.
Yes.
As opposed to what was collected
The
the same
previous,
month
yeah.
last year.
So collections, it's coming up already, and this hasn't been in place that long, so
Do we have an inkling as to why we're experiencing this improvement?
it could be with the sheriff's department with their with their Facebook. That's a part of it. Could have been just the numbers in general. Could have been, it could have been a whole host of different reasons. Without polling every person, I don't think we're gonna know that.
Could have been the type of crime.
Correct.
Could have been a scenario of things.
Yeah.
What I liked hearing was the information on this Dropbox thing.
Yes.
And we put 18 drug box out for collection for drugs. I'm not advocating put the money in the box, but I'm advocating even the co-location
Yes.
of that with the 18 existing sites that we've already published, they're already secured. Satellite sort of off of that would allow at least some type of immediate collection too.
Right, and that's.
The off-hours ones, I think many are available at the police stations throughout the county.
Mhm.
And I know, not related to Dickinson, but I think, Shippensburg or whatever, they put one up there too. But in collaboration with
Right.
what's already out there, could be a good promotion.
Right, and we wanted to start small because we wanted to see one, how secure is this gonna be? Because it is money, it's not, other items. We wanna
Right.
make sure that it is
Right.
secure. And we figured, well, we'll see how this kind of works, and then we'll start expanding it out. We're thinking about talking to some of the magistrates within the county to put maybe boxes within their office that could be accessible.
But the thing is with the MDJs, if you're taking a credit card, they would have that readily available, right? For the payment right there?
One of
Not
the-
for common pleas.
Not for common pleas.
Not
One
for
of
common
the
pleas.
things, when you talked about the boxes, and I think it's all part of a very good infrastructure, improved infrastructure, that removes the obstacles for those willing to pay, to make payment. You mentioned value payment, which DRO is in here and presented. We talked bond attorney about it. We are going to approach them about a countywide arrangement so that it can be used, because a lot of people are out there collecting money from constituents or clients or defendants or what have you. So these are all good things. That infrastructure is there. You just have to incentivize those who owe to use them. So that's all good stuff. And we can help out with the value, because we have them. DRO uses it, the voluntary wants to use it. I think there are other departments that use it as well. You guys, it makes perfect sense.
Right. And that's what we're hoping, that in conjunction, even with maybe some of these magistrates around the county, that if we're all linked up on value payment, that we can all use the same system instead of putting it in for, if somebody's at a magistrate and they know that they owe money to us, they can make a payment
Well,
right
that's what I'm
there.
saying. That was sort of what I'm
Right
saying.
now, that doesn't exist.
Right,
now,
but
they do, but that's
I'm
what
saying
we're
it
doing.
needs
Yeah,
to
it's-
exist, or
yeah.
we should advocate to make that exist.
Right. And the same thing with the drop boxes too, because not everybody believes in banking systems, they don't believe in credit cards and such, they still believe in a very cash-based system, which allows us to have the drop boxes so they have options available to them, saying, well, if they only take credit card, I'm not gonna pay. Well, I can put it in a box, okay, it'll get paid.
So you're anticipating there'll be a substantial amount of cash payments made?
We're hoping. We think that will be one of the things after talking to some of the probation officers, that some of their clients don't trust the banking system or whatever, and they still deal strictly with cash, where they get their paycheck, they cash it, and they have the cash.
In terms of the security of the boxes, since they are gonna have cash.
Sure. Well, like the one here at the courthouse is gonna be on the door in between the breezeway, and the box is actually gonna be located inside the building. And it's already under 24-hour surveillance, and it's well lit.
And can I just remind people that, with the drug drop-off boxes, contents in those boxes are worth a lot more.
I was gonna say, when you were talking about money, I'm thinking, well, wait a minute.
Right. But even still,
Right.
we still want to make sure that those payments do reach the destination that they're intended for, not that somebody wants to steal them. That's why we're trying to take as much precaution as possible to make sure that they are secured.
I think the piggybacking on the locations at the police departments is not a good idea.
The other option that was being talked about, which actually we had been considering, but John Lott brought it up as well, putting the Dropbox at the prison. We've actually figured out potentially 2 locations at the prison, one in booking. That doesn't help the public though, because you have to be buzzed into booking, but one in the
lobby.
the lobby of the prison, and then one in booking, so that when someone is brought in on a warrant and they've got cash in hand, normally the booking people don't touch money. So they have to wait until someone for the defendant can come up to the courthouse from 8 to 4:30 and make a payment. By having a Dropbox at the prison, potentially those payments could be made right there and the defendant's
Yeah, but you
released.
can walk into that lobby area where the blockers are and the restrooms without being buzzed in.
Yes,
So
but
that-
booking you can't, right? So if you're
Right.
writing on a warrant, we wanted a Dropbox in booking as well for people who happen to have cash in hand when they're brought in on a warrant. If they've got enough money to pay off, or if they charge, pick up and recharge and they have cash, to be able to have that option as well. So the public one kind of at the prison in the lobby, and potentially another Dropbox in booking for those who've been taken into custody.
So I appreciate your efforts so far. And I'm going to try to be, honest with you and frank. But the fact of the matter is the installation of drop boxes, which we spent a lot of time on, could have been done without the establishment of a new collections unit in Cumberland County. So I want to just go back, if I could, to the numbers that you said 2,089 people not on a payment plan.
Correct.
Okay. And you said they owe $3.9 million.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And we were told back when we set the unit up that essentially we have outstanding fines and costs of $13 million over the past 10 years.
Okay.
So where's the,
They're two different, you're,
Two
it's apples and
different.
oranges. These are people, this isn't everybody who owes money.
okay.
This is just people who were never put on a payment plan. They were never given the official notice, you have to pay us $50 a month until this is paid in full. So they've never been given that order to pay a set amount. The 13 million that's outstanding is all the money that's outstanding. People on payment plans, the people, everything.
So-
It's two different, well, they
So-
could overlap, but they're,
They do overlap.
they do overlap. Probably the 3.9 is included in the 13 million, but nobody was going after those 157 people.
Well, it's like.
2,000, almost
cases.
2,100 cases. No one was going after them because they didn't have a payment plan, so they didn't show up on the board.
So the remaining $9 million, everybody's on a payment plan then?
They're on a payment plan, they're just maybe not paying.
Yeah, essentially, that's what we're trying to wade through too, is who's, if they're not on the payment plan, we gotta get them on, so that way it goes back to doing things better in the future too, because then we are able to track even those old cases. Plus, then we know, if we're looking at numbers, we know that everybody's included in on all payment plans.
Okay. So if they are on a payment plan, they're not making payments. When we created this office, there were a number of tools that were discussed, I believe. And we're going to use constables. We're going to, have a, engagement with the district judges and constables.
Sure.
Where are we with, and what about, like, I heard, gentlemen say that, Darby, say that, no address people fell out of sight. Well, that doesn't mean that they don't owe,
Correct.
money to the county and owe money to the victims of their crimes. So what tools are we using to locate those folks?
Well, right.
And, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm sorry, I apologize, I didn't mean to. We are working right now with trying to establish the constable piece of the puzzle. Right now, that there is a whole lot of things that we have to work with. One was trying to get them radio access to the county system.
We just met with the police chiefs today
Right.
to present the program, to give the constables radio access. So that has moved along nicely, and we have some details to take care of. It looks like we're going to be working more closely with the sheriff's department to take care of the OR issue. So that, in regard to that thing, that's moving along at a pretty steady pace.
Another program that we started doing was, years back, apparently there was a collections court that judges would run. However, that program seemed to fall by the wayside. What I've started doing now is working with the collections division and to basically bring in an administrative process similar to collections court, where we'll try and work with people and give them, a payment plan that they can work with and have them pay at a timely manner, and then we will continue to monitor as they fall. If they don't make a payment, we're looking to bring them back in a lot faster than possibly what's being done now. And once we get basically non-compliant by them, we want to take them back in front of a judge for either if they're off supervision for contempt, or if they are still on active supervision for a revocation process. I've been working closely with Judge Hess on that, trying to find out how the bench wants us to proceed with certain items, because I can't move forward without the bench. And it just comes down to people that have fallen off the radar. We're trying to use tools that are available, either JNet, LexisNexis we're starting to use. We're looking into other programs that are out there that are used by collection divisions already that would give us the same opportunity to try and locate somebody that has fallen off the radar. They're not gone. I mean, technically they are, but we're trying to find them and get them to pay. So that's looking back at those old cases.
Do we have access to their private information?
To some
I mean,
degree.
you know, so you don't know where he is, they don't know where the person, there's a good chance he may show up somewhere.
Yes,
You
and that's,
know, and that's why I'm asking, you have private, do we have access, do you have access, to their, let's say, their social security information?
we do have some access to it, and like LexisNexis will provide us with a free service right now to try and obtain public information. They do offer a paid system, where we can try and pull stuff from, like, business and industry that we can try and, if they're getting a paycheck, where's it going to? There are systems out there, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to find the one that would meet our needs the best and be the most cost effective to us, because it has a cost to it.
I think Mike Popsell, he came up with a number of suggestions on how we can.
And Mike's big thing was one of the things we've never had is information on ability to pay.
Right.
So one of the cornerstones of this program was, what was the thing from IRS, what's it called? IVIS in the morning, was to begin to get that for those cases that made sense to get.
Right. Now, the problem with that is we looked at starting that process very early in the system. However, we have kind of run up against maybe some legal issues with the public defender's office. So I've sat down with him and we're trying to resolve.
You need to bring those to my attention. Tim reports to me.
We've kind of, right
And
now,
believe me, there was a reason we did not include the public defender's office in this whole process. So for somebody who we know, whose job is basically not to prevent the collection of costs and fines, but to protect those people responsible for them, okay, they're not the people who can tell us whether or not we can proceed on that front.
okay.
That's like asking, that's like putting the fox in charge of the envelope and then asking him to help us get the eggs out.
Right.
Okay, well, in any event, I know that we discussed a whole
Yeah.
other range of things, that it sounds like you're moving in the direction of trying to utilize all available tools, and I think, because that's that's what we're interested in doing.
Right.
And I know, I'm glad it sounds as though we're moving forward with, the folks that are under supervision right now, and the new cases and all that. I know that's where, I've been told, the best effort or the best.
It goes back to
response.
they have to stop the bleeding before you can go back in.
But I still go back to the, okay, somebody was in trouble, 10 years ago, and now they've gotten themselves together, and now maybe not, they have the ability to pay, whereas maybe previously when we, were trying to, collect the money, they didn't have the ability. And I don't want those folks who still owe a debt to society, to fall off the radar, because, they owe their debt, not only in terms
Right.
of fines and costs, but also restitution victims.
I agree.
And I guess that's my question on the amnesty. So the idea is that you simply come in without further prosecution, but you in fact are coming with cash or a
That's-
credit card or a checkbook or
Right,
something.
This will
you're not
take care
walking-
of the warrant. This isn't like you owe us $1,000, well, now you're gonna only owe us $500 if you go
Okay.
in here.
This
It's
is
just,
just,
we're gonna take care of it without arresting you.
All right.
right, because we also know too that in some ways, if people go to jail, they're not going to be paying us because they're sitting in jail, they're not being productive, they're not working. However, we want to use that as a tool though, if somebody doesn't want to pay us. But if we can give somebody the opportunity that they know that they can walk in and we can work out some sort of agreement for a payment plan down the line and they can give us some money, it's a good faith to them, we're not throwing them in jail. We can vacate the warrant, which will ultimately help some of the sheriff's department too, because we're reducing the number of warrants. So it just gives us the opportunity to try and get some of these people to come in voluntarily to us, instead of us trying to track them down, let them come to us. And then if they don't, then we have the warrant sweeps available to us to bring people in, is what I'm looking at, because, we can offer all sorts of stuff, but if we give them the incentives
Still like a 2-week period.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever.
Yeah, that's what we're looking at, like a 1, maybe 2 week period, and then shortly followed by that, we would look at a warrant sweep.
You had your hand up.
Yeah, I was just curious about the Dropbox thing. Are they gonna be monitored drop things? Are you talking about just people putting cash in an envelope and dropping it in the envelope, or dropping it in the box?
Right, it's gonna be that, we're gonna have an envelope designed with basically the same information that we would use for field receiving with POs out in the field that are taking payments. They're gonna put it in there, drop it in the box. But it's also under surveillance 24 hours a
The
day.
defendant is.
Yes.
So, you pull an envelope out and then it's empty or whatever, something happens to it. Defendant says, well, I put money in there,
Okay, and
what
then
happens?
we will go back and review the security.
Well, they might come in with the envelope already filled out, it doesn't mean there's money in it.
But that would be the same thing as if they mailed you an envelope. Do you get chain payments in the mail?
Yeah, because everybody don't send mail in the cash, don't send cash in the mail.
Well, but they could easily say, I sent you
Here you send
a
them,
check.
we're encouraging them to do it.
We're encouraging them to
I
pay,
think-
whether
I
that be a
think-
check or
I
cash
think the
or.
point, look, if I'm Sears Roebuck and I got a credit card bill here, some people ain't gonna pay me, some people will say, pay me. But you know what? 95% of the people who have a Sears Roebuck card pay on time. Point is, do stuff like this, understand what the risks are that you're talking about, and figure out a way that you can mitigate the risks. Don't not try it because it might be gain. We know it will be gain. We know we'll have some chucklehead who'll come in and say, I put $2,000 in my heart, and you all, somebody stole it, blah, blah, blah. This is the kind of focus we're dealing with. But for every one of them, if we get 3 people who actually, we can trace it back, I know, you know, my big question about this is, are we gonna be able to tie it to a docket or to a case or whatever? And my guess is that if we do this correctly, and for people who are mildly intelligent and relatively sincere, we're gonna get people paying who might not.
I mean, you fill out the envelope and then you do your part. You know, you're gonna look at your car overnight, you're gonna put the keys in, you're gonna fill out, and you say, hey, check the brakes, do this,
Yeah.
whatever. Call me at this number, if anything happens, drop it in, and somebody picks it up, and the car's ready in the morning.
Essentially, that's
It's
exactly
kind of,
what
is that what we're kind
Or
of
we're
looking at?
looking at like at banks where you do a drop deposit. you
Right,
know.
I mean,
It's the same
yeah,
thing.
it's not hard. So 6 months later, we'll kind of see where it's going, and
Yeah.
my thing is, those who are, you don't want a payment plan, ask them. You know, and I think we had this conversation early on. Have we engaged the audience? And say, can we kind of work this through?
Right.
And if that Dropbox is working for the audience,
And I mean,
well, that's great for me.
and it was a suggestion put out by the probation officers themselves, because they know their clients, because they know some of their clients, the way they work, they can't get into the courthouse between 8 and 4:30 to do a payment.
Yeah.
So they brought it up, we talked about it, we thought it was a great suggestion. Now, do we realize that there's inherent risk to it? Yes, but we think that outweighs the benefit, the benefits outweigh the risk. And, you know, we're gonna take a look at it, and, you know, it's something that we figured, what's it gonna hurt at this point? It can't hurt us.
And the other thing I had a question about is, you mentioned about the value payments and you named off all these departments in the voluntary. Nobody's talked to me about them. What is this? I mean, we're talking about collections.
Right, well, value
We go through the clerk of court if there's collections, if it's
Sure,
used for.
Danny, this is, you know, we're finding out that there are a number of departments that use this and use it effectively. And then it dawned on me the other day that I have multiple departments negotiating separate arrangements with the same company. And my job is, at the point that that light bulb goes on in my head, to find out anybody and everybody in the county who might consider using this system and try to come up with an aggregate arrangement so that, A, we get the best conditions possible, even though value payments conditions are already pretty good, and that it's easy to bring new departments on if and when they need them, because we've got an established agreement. So, in the course of this, we would be putting out something to everybody, all the departments. Do you have a need for this? Is this something you want to consider?
Yeah, DRO brought that to us
Yeah,
6
they
months,
have, a couple months
7
ago.
months ago.
That was
whatever.
Frank, Frank came in.
Yeah, and made the.
And we went down to DRO and looked at their system, talked to them, and felt, and basically tested the waters with them, and we felt that this was a good option for us, and we got
And we
into
can
talks
help
with
with
them.
that. And if any of you guys are interested in that stuff, talk about it. I know volunteers. So,
We also said there are some counties that they use that VPS system for everything, from
Yeah.
taxes to.
Yeah, and
loans to-
that's what we heard. I
Yeah.
mean, this was not, we're not, that,
Right,
Right.
somebody else has sort of gone down that road and,
But
very
it works.
successful.
Very successful.
Right.
One-stop shop, pay all your county
Exactly.
stuff in one place.
Yeah.
well, yeah, and the DRO, the great thing about DRO, which is very much applicable here, is you've got, it's case-based, and it goes, you know, it doesn't go into a big pool, it's all sent differentiated, so that stuff can be matched up.
That's, you know, that's why we like, you know, after talking to DRO and the ability to use it, the ease to use it,
Yeah,
and everything.
it's a very easy system for pretty much anybody to use. Very
Even
user-friendly.
our audience. in this-
Yes.
Very user-friendly for everyone.
And even the staffs at certain offices, you know, if this goes to the magistrates, because right now they're taking so much time trying to get somebody onto the system that's currently in place to make credit card payments, that it just, it's too cumbersome for even staff members to do. So this is why we're looking at maybe helping out the magistrates with this system, to get them on board with it. So it's an ease for everybody, both either the client or the staff that's dealing with this.
At one point in time, I think we were, told, are we currently using a collections agency for any of this?
We are, but I think we need to reevaluate that. And possibly if we decide that we are going to stick with a collection agency, that we shift away from the one that's currently in use.
And we've had a number of offers from very interested and eager suitors on that, to be evaluated, of course.
Okay, and we did discuss, I think, when we talked about this 5 months ago or so, about wage attachment or garnishment.
Yes.
Are we moving forward? with
We
that?
are, as of right now, we cannot, I don't think legally we can mandate wage attachments. We cannot legally do wage garnishments. There is some legislation in process for certain aspects of that. However, in this, we cannot do it. We're not like the RO that has the ability to do certain things. We do encourage wage attachments, and we try and explain to the people, and some of this becomes education too.
So the courts don't have that ability?
Not in the matter.
No.
A wage attachment in a criminal matter is voluntary on the part. You can't make them,
Okay, but
but we can encourage them.
And we have been, and some of this is education, because some people, like, they had a school loan previously, and they default on that loan, and it becomes an attachment, and they just take whatever amount they want. Where we start explaining to them, no, it's a set amount, we'll work with you for that amount to get it to where you can afford it each month. It doesn't, we don't just go in there and say, well, we're gonna seize X amount of dollars. Once we start getting that through to the clients and understanding that we're not like the government, we're getting compliance with the wage attachments.
so I don't think anybody expects you to change the law. What we expect is to work within the voluntary zone
Mhm.
as effectively as
And
possible.
we are trying to work with the clients to get them to understand what a wage attachment really is, at least from the criminal matter.
Right, so in other words, instead of, you having to write out a check, we can take it right out.
Exactly, you never see it, you never have to deal with it, you don't really miss it.
We don't have the ability, well, this is where I think the court gets involved, because the court then would have the ability to determine the ability to pay, and if they had that ability to just, attach the wages without it being voluntary.
Well, there are currently issues with the IBIS implementation, and we can work on that later. One of the things that we've also started doing is having the DJs send Mike the public defender applications that are submitted. So he is seeing what they're writing on their form. And we do have one MDJ who requires the defendants to provide proof of what they're putting on their form. Well, that's a novel
So
concept.
then, what a novel
And-
idea that you would lie.
I mean,
I
because
mean,
these
or
are defendants that will never lie to us.
Embellish either,
We actually
the
asked
ability to pay
her-
or not.
We asked her at the
Do you
last,
remember when we said that the judge passed?
I know, he seemed shocked. It was, We asked her at the MDG meeting last Friday, actually to talk to the other MDJs and possibly encourage them to also require proof of what their defendant is writing on the PD form.
But
So
that's
we're,
something she's done.
she has done for years, and she said, well, why wouldn't I ask for proof? Was kind of her comment, and,
That's
so
kind of
she's
right.
providing
Every
that.
day.
We are getting those PD, kind of a workaround so that we can get the other stuff in place. The PD applications are being sent to us, I think, by most of the DJs now.
Yes, I
It's
believe
kind of slow, phase in getting all of them in, but, so, he has access to that information, and we can pull it back up at a point later for that ability to pay, keeping track of.
Yeah, in our current bond.
Yeah, we see them every time one gets sent to the court engine, I get it. And we see what's going on with it. So there really is like something, because the victim services here in the county too, they've been including me in conversations where
Good.
victims are coming in and they want to know what's going on.
Yeah.
So I've been engaged with victim services here too, and it's a big process. We're trying to work with a lot of different departments and find out what is working and what isn't working. So.
Speaking of which, when is the first advisory board meeting?
Well, we tried for the end of this month. It's going to be, I'm shooting.
December 18th.
Oh,
No, the advisor.
Oh,
I know.
never mind.
I have to, yeah, we had a lot of meetings. I'm gonna send it out for about 2 weeks out as well.
So you're gonna have one before the end of the year?
Yes.
That was the answer I was looking
Yeah, it's gonna be before the end of the year.
for. Okay.
We tried to schedule it and just everything popped up a little.
But we're gonna have one before the end.
Yes, yeah, all my stuff.
That is the correct answer.
Yes.
Thank you.
I mean, the reality of the situation is it's a big task. It's a lot of money, it's a big task. And right now, Mike was just one person for 2 months. Missy just started a couple weeks ago, and I really think they have got there's a lot on their plates right now. There's a lot of little projects getting started that are test things. Testing things with a small group. If they work, we're gonna push them out. Because you don't want to implement a big, giant, huge change and find out what didn't really work the way we thought it was gonna work, and then you fold the whole thing back in. He's got a bunch of little
I
things going on.
think this is a great time. Not only do we have this new unit, but Darby's on board. Darby's predecessor, Lyle, played a really good role in trying to get this whole concept solidified. I think Darby comes in with significant experience, hopefully an open mind. And the fact that he's willing to work closely with you, and that, in fact, all of his performance goals are mostly tied to that. I'm sorry, not all, but many of them are tied to that. Kind of does that reinforcement. This is a great time. And I think it sounds like you guys are doing a lot of the key stuff. You are going to hear people asking, especially for people who were involved in the process directly, you will be hearing what about this, what about this. It's all good because it means they take this very seriously. And so again, I think you're right. We just want to see, a plan so that all these things someday come to fruition. And I think, again, a lot of our analysis was data-driven. When we did the whole discovery thing, the more you come to us with the data on what you're going to be measured on, then I think that would be very good.
I think the work today is impressive. I really do.
Thank you.
It's huge issue and challenge.
And I think we heard loud and clear from our friends at the police department today that they're very much in favor of this goal, and they have
This part of it.
they have some very definite opinions on how this could work.
And I
And-
expected nothing less from that group.
And it was a very, very, very educational meeting, and the fact that we were
Sorry I
able
missed it.
to walk out of there erect and without limping was a good thing. I think we did a decent job in making the case, and I certainly learned a bunch of stuff. Everybody wants to see victims get their restitution. A lot of people want to see the county and the other offices get the money that's owed them. And I think with the right leadership, this is the right time to do it. Leadership will come from you guys, it's going to come from Darby, it's going to come from them, it's going to come from, I think we're seeing now that the sheriff's office is going to have a more central role in all this. It is definitely going to come from the district attorneys. office as well, and I think the police and the judges, the MDJs, it's going to require everybody to do this. But we've got the spotlight. It's hard to argue against this. How are you going to argue against improving the institution? It's a tough.
Especially this, you know, absolutely, we're serious in Cumberland County.
Exactly.
I mean, if nothing else, the takeaway is we're serious.
Because unfortunately, over the years, it has become, you know, I have to pay Dauphin because Dauphin's gonna come after me if I don't get this. So Adams County, Adams County, I believe, you don't get off supervision
Right, you
until
don't.
everything is paid. So, it's kind of like, they can wait.
Cumberland is always at the bottom here.
It just,
Unfortunately, the complacency or whatever just has
And-
got to change.
In Texas, you don't leave your administrative hearing until you settle your account, 0 balance.
I don't think we have big enough prison for that.
No, we don't need to.
I have a friend
All you have
in
to-
town who's a
all you
judge.
have to
Yes,
do-
you don't show up with.
All you have to do is put them on a bus
Exactly.
with an ATM machine and drive around.
And
every
she's
city.
very serious. She's very serious. So,
But that's what we're trying to get.
yeah.
We
we need that as well.
we have to adjust the culture, and that's what we're working on, so it's a process. We're getting there.
But it's not gonna happen.
And our next meeting is when?
It'll be first quarter next year. I would see that this is November, sometime in the middle of February. We space it out 3 months. Darby, given that your name was invoked so many times, any
I'm
thoughts?
glad I showed up.
We wouldn't have talked